Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crate Expectations. I'm here with my co host, Sarah. Sarah, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad I remembered not to say your first name. I
My
didn't want
first name.
my eyeballs to be clawed out.
Through the screen. Cool.
I know I'm overestimating your abilities, but it's okay, guys, folks. It's okay to live in constant fear of Sarah, even if you don't live in the same area as her.
I would not claw anyone's eyes out for calling me by my first name.
Maybe that's why I keep my eyes squinty, so that they're more protected.
Awesome. Okay.
Yep. You almost did a
Cool.
spit take. That would have been so good.
It's not gonna happen. It's not.
It already has happened.
No.
Yep. Yeah, we just don't have a recording of it yet. Damn it all. So, Sarah, what are we going to talk about today on Great Expectations?
So there's no news since uh last week.
Hmm.
So we're just gonna talk about a topic of our own choosing, of your own choosing.
No, actually, it was actually like my thumbnail zone choosing from last week
Yeah.
because I said something and someone's like, "You guys didn't actually discuss this." I was like, "Well, we kind of did," but I actually think that it would be okay to revisit it. So, in a lot of ways,
Cool.
sure, it actually was because I'm the one who made the thumbnail. But anyways,
Okay, so we'll revisit that topic. Character review, speed GAC, pack review, roster roast, viewer questions, the whole thing, whole
okay, so you're
package.
you're just like reading it off the screen. That's good.
Yeah, because I still have not memorized it yet.
Okay, so but like what pack are we reviewing? What character are we you know what are
Um,
we doing?
okay, so the pack we're gonna do is the Gear 12 Plus Mega Bundle, which I have not looked at in depth yet, but I saw it in the store and I went, that looks interesting.
Mm.
And then character, we'll do Thrawn.
It's a good one to do.
Is it?
Yeah,
Because you picked it?
you forced me to pick it.
Correct.
Yeah, so you're trying to like play this game where you're like, oh man, Zareth just picks everything. He doesn't.
No.
Zareth
This is
doesn't
your
choose everything.
this is your first pick.
Maybe. I've
uh,
pretended to I've pretended to give my stamp of approval like we needed it.
right.
But yeah. Like you were just like, no, we're just doing it. I'm like, fine, stamp of approval given. Anyways.
All right.
So uh yeah, let's talk about Omicrons a
Yeah.
little bit. And so they're fairly new still to the game, and every new character is coming out with an Omicron. Like everyone has an Omicron, whether
Mhm.
they're useful or not. And I guess the question that I've thought of a lot actually is this going to bring balance to the game? Like adding Omicrons, like this is like their opportunity to say, hey, Darth Vader, just as a weird example, like Darth Vader's too overpowered right now.
Mhm.
But only like he's not really doing anything in territory wars, so who cares about him there? But like in GAC, he's too dominant. He's killing things. Like he's people are putting him on defense. He shouldn't be on defense. That's not what we want for balance reasons. For whatever reason, let's make an Omicron for some random character that just destroys Darth Vader on defense. Like,
Right.
is that good? Is that what their intent is? What are your thoughts?
Um, okay, so I feel like this is a weird, not a weird question, weird area of the game because I think this also ties into what CG was doing with Galactic Legend releases and how they've kind of released them and then they release these conquest counterparts to them and you have this overpowered faction of Galactic Legends specifically. Um, and I think a lot of people have noticed that we are due for another Galactic Legend. You might even say overdue for one. And it's kind of put this question of are we getting one or are we just getting more Omicrons to characters and Omicrons on powerful characters where they turn into like Galactic Legends in that specific game mode?
All right, like Starkiller is essentially a galactic legend in
Right.
GAC. Like 3v3. I mean, there have been a few counters now, but you need really high relics to make them work.
Hmm.
Like my first round opponent, I was looking at his GAC history. I was like, oh, look at you! You killed my Starkiller with Darth Revan team. Like, good for you.
Hmm.
And like he did a couple really good counters. I was like, man, how did I end up like beating you so bad? And then he like after the first two, it just like went super downhill, and he's like, oh, I'm just gonna start using GLs on any old thing. And but yeah, like a Starkiller is like a really good. He is a galactic legend. Scion of Django is kind of a galactic legend in Territory Wars.
Right. You can take him, you can take out Lord Vader without stressing over it, basically.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna have Malgus, and Malgus is gonna have his Omicrons for Grand Arena, and that's another character there. So I think in a way, I don't want to say like all Omicrons would bring balance to the game, because I think there are some that are pretty worthless to use, or
Mm-hmm.
not the first pick I would go with. But I think overall they are bringing a balance. I think what it is it's maybe bringing a balance is the wrong phrase, but I think what it's doing is it's giving CG more runway space versus Galactic Legends. And I don't mean versus as in taking on Galactic Legends. I mean the runway space that they have with Galactic Legends is considerably shorter, in my opinion, than an Omicron runway space.
Yeah. Well, so that's I think that's a great way to kind of frame it is like they're in a way they're like pseudo galactic legends. Like
Right.
they're not quite to that level, but like yeah, you could call Starkiller that, you could call Malgus that, or I mean, in a way, you could say that Wampa is galactic legend ish.
Right.
Like he has some of the same attributes. Like he still solos a lot of the same teams for the same banners.
Hmm.
People fear being countered by Wampa by a lot of different teams. A lot of teams fear that, and but at the same time, I guess what I like. So right now, like you go through these cycles of like I've gone through cycles of rage with Supreme Leader Kylo, for instance, of like he's so worthless. He just doesn't do anything. Like he's the worst galactic legend. And now, and right now I'm really high on him. I'm like, okay, so he counters like most galactic legends just for really bad banners. But he also, gets you the right. He gets you a good fleet. He gets you, First Order TIE Pilot now has a really good Omicron. So like, there's a lot of good reasons to like Supreme Leader Kylo. But you can go through these cycles, and I'm sure the CG gets frustrated when they're like they have to keep Galactic Legends relevant, right? Like
Hmm.
that's imperative. They can't people talk about Lord Failure, but I think that the Galactic Legend I hear you curse most is Lord Vader,
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
so they have to keep them relevant, and they keep trying to, but they don't have to do that with Omicron, like with these pseudo GLs
Right.
necessarily, like because the investment level is so much lower. The investment, like especially if it's a character that's not like Star Killer that requires like that's an unlock character, like if it's just Qui-Gon Jinn and he kind of fades out of favor, kind of
Hmm.
like I didn't care that I had Qui-Gon Jinn Zeta a long time ago, back when Gear 11 was the only, was the highest gear. Like, and when he eventually rode off into the sunset and wasn't relevant, I was like, well, I got my use out of him. I'm good.
Right.
And that happen with Omicrons. Like once Wampa is no longer able to solo a team, and he's just relegated to cleanup in all game modes, I'll still
Right.
be like, we had a good time, Wampa. Like I'm glad that I put my Omicrons on you.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's just the natural state of how the game would go in general. Like as your roster develops and everyone else's roster develops around you,
Hmm.
you're not going to be able to use the same tools.
Right, but it's not okay for that to happen to Galactic Legends.
Right.
No, I'm serious. Like, but if they keep releasing them, that is what's going to happen.
Right, exactly. And I mean, the other topic here is how many Galactic Legends can you release before you run out of them? I feel like Galactic Legends put CG in this weird corner, and
Hmm.
I think they realized that they were kind of backed into a corner with them. And Omicrons releases them of that. And if they want to release another one, they could. It doesn't need to necessarily be on this expected cadence um,
Hmm.
that we've been getting. So
At the same time, GLs also make them a lot of money, I think. So
totally.
you have to think that they're going to release them eventually. Uh, there is space for them. I think the thing that I'm so okay right now in 5v or 3v3, if you want to, you can put if you have all the Galactic Legends, you could fill an entire zone full of Galactic Legends, and then have
Mhm.
one left over. And that people are always talking about like, oh yeah, I just put five up front, and then I kept one, and I'm cool. I'm like, you're not, but so actually it's a valid strategy on some level. So no actual real shade. But here's the thing. Let's say they release two more iterations of Galactic Legends, so four more.
Okay.
In 3v3, people will then be able to fill two full zones
Of Galactic
with
Legends.
Galactic Legends. Like they already kind of dominate GAC.
Hmm.
They will dominate GAC even further, and it also makes territory battles pretty tough to balance, I would guess. Honestly,
Right.
like other game modes, because and territory wars, like
Hmm.
the more GLs you have, like the less relevant. Like, what good is CLS in a world of 8 GLs?
Right. You could theoretically have a full Galactic Legend territory war board. Like
Hmm.
if you had 50 of each Galactic Legend
Yeah,
and there were eight, you could have a full board of Galactic Legends.
yeah. Which I mean, maybe that's a valid strategy. I can't imagine it'd be that fun, but I mean, I think the Omicrons really do kind of they limit it because okay, so Scion of Django is a galactic legend in territory wars, we'll say,
Right.
but then you go to GAC and he's not. So
Right.
he's dominant in one place but not in another place. So that they have to release if they want to release like a full galactic legend for both of the PvP modes, they actually have to release two characters kind of
Hmm.
to do that. Like they have to release Scion of Django and Starkiller.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So
Like
that you
it
can
takes
have both halves.
yeah, it takes longer for the their new releases to kind of dominate everywhere.
Right.
Because a Galactic Legend, like, how annoyed would you be if they're like, "Hey, Galactic Legend Leia is coming out, and you'll never believe it. 6 Omicrons on her,
Oh my
all of
God.
them, all of them are territory wars."
6 Omicrons. Oh man.
Oh, well, I mean that'd be annoying anyways. But let's say that she's it's a Galactic Legend with 6 Omicrons, and they're all one game mode. Like,
That'd be ridiculous.
and they're essentially like, well, we didn't intend for her to be good in GAC, just territory wars, or we only wanted her to be good at territory battles. Like, who even cares at that point? Like, the Galactic Legend should be dominant on all facets.
Right. You should be able to take them into all of the game modes.
Hmm.
Right. And I think that's a fair statement. And I think maybe that's where the balance is. If you have a Galactic Legend and they're in all of the game modes and the Omicrons are not.
Yeah.
Because exactly like what you said, like Sign of Django, this is the perfect actually this is the perfect example because I only really use him in territory war to kill a Lord
Hmm.
Vader team. And
Yeah.
then when I have to use him in Grand Arena, I'm like, I have no idea what you do. And I just button mash. Literally, I'm like, I guess
Yeah.
I'll do this, but like because I know what to do against Lord Vader. But other than that, I'm like, why are you here? Because you have to be. I have no other option. So
Right. Well, yeah, he's desperation mode.
yeah, exactly. So it's a very quick swing of the pendulum.
Right. Well, exactly, and that's I almost think that Omicrons they're pretty brilliant on CG's part because like they add a new facet, interesting facet of gameplay
Mhm.
that can like people, if they do overinvest in it, like it's only one Omicron. Like it may feel like the end of the world, but it's like uh, I still cry a little bit about my Grandmaster Yoda leadership Zeta. That
Right.
was, because Basti came out like a week after they released the new Zeta. I was like, I've been waiting for this Zeta my whole life. This leadership is transcendent and amazing. Upgrade you, Grandmaster Yoda. He's like, yeah, you should have waited.
Yeah.
Like, waited, you should have. Because Basti, like the next week, she's like, my Zeta literally does everything his does and more
And more.
and more. Yeah. But if they do that with Omicrons like that's frustrating. Like we all have that rage moment, of course.
Mhm.
But then
I will
it's
say,
just one upgrade, Matt.
yeah. And I will say, like, so when Omicrons were first released or when they were first talking about them, I was like, this is going to be so bad. I was not on board for it. I didn't think I would enjoy it. And part of the reason why I didn't think I would enjoy it is because I knew eventually we were going to get so many of them that I wouldn't be able to remember who had an Omicron for where. So I would know that, like, Talon has one, but like I don't know which game mode it's active in. And I was really paranoid about going into Territory War or Grand Arena and getting confused. And it hasn't been like that at all. Like they've actually done a really good job in those specific game modes of showing the character like the Omicron is on it when the Omicron is active in that game mode, which is
Mm-hmm.
brilliant. And then other than that, like you just look at what somebody has or what they're against, and it hasn't actually been that confusing because I think part of it as well is what you've applied. If you've, I mean, unless your kid's doing it for you, which has happened to one of our guildmates. But like
I never trust people like that. I think they just get drunk and blame it on their kids.
but I mean, realistically, though, you know what you're applying, so if you
Yeah.
have more Grand Arena or more Territory or whatever Omicrons on your account. So, yeah,
Yeah. No, I think so far if Omicrons have been really cool, and they've given us a breath. Because I won't lie, like I've been nervous about like pretty soon we're gonna just have this age of Galactic Legends
yeah,
where, I mean, in 5v5 we can place 11 teams on defense.
hmm
We could place over half of them as GLs right now.
yeah,
So like, you're making people's life miserable if you do that. That's fine though. I mean, I place 5 sometimes, and then I still full clear because there's off meta things available, and that's part of the joy of Omicrons as well. But uh, once you get another 8, like they're gonna have to, if they do release more GLs, they're gonna have to expand GAC again, and then it's gonna take even longer. And I don't. I might be okay with like one more expansion.
right.
I also might not be. Like, what if they had 4 more teams to 5v5? Like, suddenly it's suddenly it's 15 teams. Like, I don't know. That might break me. It might break other people. So that they need to find other ways, other things.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So I think I think Omicrons are the right way to go here.
Okay, so just real quick then before we go to the character review, uh,
Mhm.
what what are your thoughts on territory battles? How are they going to impact territory battles? Because I feel like that's a stage of development. Like if they come out with a new territory battle,
Mhm.
are they going to come out with it like with Omicrons in mind? Are they going to be like, hey, the best guilds have like these 4 Omicrons
Right.
applied?
I think they would have to if they make a new one. Like, so this is the thing with the territory battle Omicrons. At least I think for both of us, with the state that we're at, you don't need an Omicron because you're already at the point where you are getting as many stars as you possibly can as a guild mathematically. Like, possibly you can't get any more. Um, right now, with the Omicrons for territory battles, I think they're useful for guilds that are struggling to get more stars and get more combat waves, because obviously like you don't want to platoon, and I'll use this is the most obvious example. You don't want to platoon your CLS squad in light side territory battle because everyone wants to use CLS. It's pretty easy to go 4-4 with him, unless you get really unlucky, but like even then it's a 3 out of 4. Putting the Omicron on Rolo lets you platoon your CLS team. And then you take your Rolo team and somebody else can use their CLS team. So that it is in a way good for guilds that are struggling to make up those combat waves and make up those stars. But unless they come out with a new territory battle, I don't see how you can entice endgame players to put territory battle Omicrons on.
Oh yeah. So they'd have to come out with a new territory battle, I think.
Right.
Which, I mean, that might be fun. So here's the parting shot then. How would you feel if they gave Shock T and Omicron in territory battles that helped clones?
Why do you do this to me?
I just want to know. Also for fun.
So I actually only run Shock T with clones in the cam mission. So I don't know if I would put it on her.
Oh, but what if you could tell a new guildmate, like a new guild member? What if you could tell all the guild people, like if... I actually think you do enjoy hanging out with your guild and actually doing the cam missions with them, but like it's got to be like what if you could be like, okay, everyone, you could either remod and like run cam with me, or you could just apply this Omicron and then just do it on your own because it's just easy mode.
Right, it's like an instant win button.
Yeah, like a ton of guilds. So and not every guild has a Sarah in their in their number. Like they don't have someone who's gonna walk them through the entire guild through that mission. Like some guilds would probably rejoice. Like my buddy Hens still doesn't have, like he's like gets into like the top 50 sometimes in GAC. He still doesn't have a 7-star Kieti Mundi because his guild just doesn't.
They just don't do the
and he even buys the cam packs when they come out, and he just doesn't have it yet. And like he'd probably rejoice if they came out with an Omicron. It's like, all right, if you join the guild, apply the freaking Omicron and get us cam already, dude.
So then I would it's one of those things where it would be like, well, how worthwhile of an investment is it? Are we super close to cam? Are you far from cam? Do you already have cam and you're just in a guild with a bunch of people that don't? Like,
well, it could also help you with your waves, frankly. I mean, I still use Shock T on one of my waves, actually.
Right.
Shock T clones.
I use her as a Jedi, with my Jedi. So that is to say, like, I have run her with the clones before, in light side missions, and it is a lot of fun and highly recommend. But
she's a pretty good character. You should check her out. So. All right. Speaking of good characters, though, we gotta move on. So let's talk about what's his name, the blue guy,
Thrawn. Where is he?
Thrawn.
I should just go to Empire. Are we in the game?
Whoa, yeah, we've been in the game. We've just been watching you.
Watching me scroll aimlessly? Oh, dear. Okay.
All right, so you have one of the Zetas, it looks like, the non-leadership Zeta.
Yep.
Do you know what it does?
Are you judging me? Do I know what the Zeta does?
Do you know which one it is? Oh, come on, don't look. You're cheating.
I don't remember. I just remember that someone was like, you need the ebb and flow one. And I was like, all right.
Okay, so you at least remember that it's unique. What are your thoughts on Thrawn? First, I guess I should ask you that.
I like Thrawn. I actually use him quite a lot. I use him every Grand Arena battle, whether it's 3v3 or 5v5.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He's useful.
Good.
So, the thing that I like about Thrawn is, so one, okay, actually, multiple things. One, he lets you with fracture in particular, you're able to fracture a character that you don't want to take turns, so you can control like the linchpin character essentially. Or you can fracture, and this is something that I really enjoy doing, is I can fracture a tank that lets me get to the linchpin character so they don't taunt, and now I can get around them and take out the character that I need to take out beforehand.
Sure. Oh yeah, he's handy like that.
Those
You could
are
say he gets handsy, in fact, with his with his fracture,
yeah,
because
but
he's literally holding their hands behind their back.
but that's the that's like the primary way that I use him personally. And then obviously you got like your turn meter swap, which is great. Um, yeah,
Right, which is also really nice in GAC because it's a banner recovery
yeah,
for that
because you
protection.
get protection back, right?
Yep. What do you think of his basic? Do you remember what his basic does off the top of your head?
Doesn't it give them speed up?
It does. What else does it do?
I can't remember. I know it gives them speed up, and
Cheater.
it bugs me.
No, it's cool because what it gives them speed up for one turn, and that's annoying. But then
Right.
it gives them ability block, and then he gets an automatic these effect like he automatically stuns people with ability block with his basic.
Right.
So
it's more control.
yeah, it's sneaky control.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't remember what ebb and flow does though?
No.
Okay, so what happens?
Can I click on it this time?
Sure. Yeah. So that I can make sure I'm saying it right too. No. So ebb and flow is all about his fracture ability. So like his special does the fracture, but then this is more things that happen when they're fractured, because that's the essence of what Thrawn is his control here. And so what happens is what if you put the Zeta on is you reduce their turn meter as you do specials with Empire. Like scroll down a little bit. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. But
I can't scroll. That's the whole thing. Yeah.
No, scroll 7. Scroll like you can do the left hand abilities.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, and then click 8. Yeah, okay. So whenever another Empire uses a special ability while Thrawn is active, if any enemies are fractured enemies lose 15% turn meter. So this is the thing that where like if you use Thridian, for example, and like you hit a CLS who has full turn meter.
Yeah.
Or if you hit a Jedi Knight Anakin and then like Jedi Knight Anakin on a Qui-Gon team, like you kill Qui-Gon and he goes full turn meter, you can actually, if he's fractured, you can actually walk him back from his full turn meter.
Which is ridiculous.
Which is really handy. Like there's actually this I think this actually works again, or has worked against like Galactic Legends, if I remember correctly. I don't remember if it still does, but it's obviously it's not as good against Galactic Legends these days because it's only halving their speed. But I mean, you can walk their turn meter back, and you can walk other people's turn meter back. You also, I mean, yeah, he's just really cool. The thing is that it's like an anti turn meter train. Like you take Gideon with him,
right?
And Gideon takes everyone's turn meter and reduces it down to nothing.
Yeah,
and then gives a little bit more. Like Thrawn's fracture only lasts until he gets full turn meter, and so if you can have a well-timed Gideon like purge of turn meter, you can actually extend the fracture even farther.
Right, because you can reduce the turn meter.
Yeah. So I don't get as excited about Thrawn in 5v5 because he's only controlling 20% of the board, basically.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
In 3v3, though, he's controlling a third, like 33%, which doesn't sound like that much more, but like it becomes a lot more significant when they only have two characters that can actually act. And it's like in 3v3, a lot of times it's very your roles are very compartmentalized. It's like, okay, you do the taunting, I'll do the damage, and
Yeah.
you do the supporting. Like, and when you can take one leg of that out, and they're like, well, we don't have anyone to do the taunting anymore. We don't have the person who does the damage anymore. Like,
Right.
it becomes a lot more problematic. So, let's go to your channel now, shall we?
Oh, okay. We're out of time.
We're out of time.
We're going to my channel.
You know what? We're past the 30-minute mark. So, do you have any last comments on
jeez.
Thrawn?
No.
No.
I remember his event was awful
Oh, to unlock. It
to
was.
unlock.
You're right.
It was
You're
so
right.
brutal. But no, I really enjoy him. I'm glad I still get use out of him.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. So, can we get like pseudo judgy? I'm just curious because actually, I'm not actually judging, but I want to know how fast yours is.
No, you don't.
No, I do because I don't think it's bad for him to be slow. Actually.
He is 303. Yeah, 303.
Oh, that's great. That's fine. That's a
Okay.
that's a wonderful number actually because he used to be one of the fastest characters. Like you just make him super fast so he can go
Mhm.
first. Those days are past. Like he can't compete with the 400 speed meta.
Right.
So
Right.
so now you actually like you find a lot of functionality. Like you actually when you fracture, it's based on like at the end of the day, you fracture, and if he's super slow, it
Mhm.
halves his speed, and so it's based off of like his turn meter gain is based off of his. So he's actually he benefits from being slower if you want a long fracture,
Yeah.
and and you want him if you're gonna use the Sith Eternal counter against Jedi Master Kenobi, you
Mhm.
need him to be 21 speeds slower than Armor.
I can't remember how fast my armor is.
I'm betting she's not 321 or 325 or whatever. But
Rude.
no, yeah, I, you've never told me about how you use that counter all the time either. So,
I don't use it.
all right, guys. So we are we're we're gonna go over to Sarah's channel. She's gonna answer why she doesn't like to be called Celiac Sarah. She has to be called Sarah, and just Sarah. That's gonna be part of it. It's gonna be epic. So go video description. There might be like some kind of a box to just push the button. Yeah, go hit the sub button, like button, comment button here,
Mhm.
and then go do the same on Sarah's. And we'll see you in a minute. Okay, guys. Sarah, do you want to offer any last words of wisdom?
No, I thought you were hitting the end record button.